Good morning. Welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Wednesday, actually Thursday, July 15th, 2010. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the U.S. It's 4:30 p.m. in London. In Hamilton, Bermuda, it's 12:30 p.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL Instant Mail address is CATEX-TV. Some of the big banks in the U.S. are coming out with their quarterly numbers. J.P. Morgan came out with numbers this morning showing a 70% increase in profit. According to Jamie Dimon, the CEO of the bank, the reason for the profit is because they had fewer bad loans in this quarter than before. It's amazing how things like that can work out. We'll go to our main news. Some unemployment statistics are in. The number of Americans applying for initial state unemployment benefits fell 29,000 for the week ending July 10th. That's at the lowest level now since August of 2008, down to 429,000. Economists surveyed by MarketWatch had expected a claims level of 445,000. The 4-week average of initial claims fell 11,750 down to 455,000. Federal extension of benefits has expired for many of these people, and an estimated 2.5 million people will have been cut off from unemployment benefits by July 17th. Congress is working right now on a new extension. It could be approved in the next coming days. The stock market is unimpressed, actually. It's down about 80 points. China reported a slowdown in second quarter gross domestic product growth. We all wish we had this kind of slowdown. First half GDP came in at 11.1%, slower than the 11.9% recorded in the first quarter. The country's consumer price index for June jumped to 2.9%, while its producer price index jumped to 6.4%. Expectations had been 3.3 and 6.8, so they did a little worse off than had been expected. June retail sales grew 18.3%, and industrial production expanded almost 14%. Those numbers, as impressive as they are, all represent slowing in the Chinese economy. You can see why the people in Beijing have some fears of an overheating economy if those are the slow numbers. Well, yesterday afternoon, a bulletin came around the insurance world and reinsurance world coming from Bermuda. SIOPS, S-E-I-O-P-S, the organization charged with monitoring international compliance of Solvency II, handed Bermuda equivalency with the Solvency II standards. Only 2 countries were being considered by SIOPS for equivalency assessment tests during the next 12 months. Switzerland was one, Bermuda was the other one. Bermuda is going to get an initial determination on equivalence by next July after SIOPS comes back and gets more information to make their final decision. However, the ability by Bermuda to show a sound supervision framework is critical. The island had been widely expected to be included in the first group of countries that will be assessed for regulatory equivalence, and confirmation from SIOPS was well received by the BMA. The Bermuda Monetary Authority has taken great steps in trying to make sure that they have bolstered their workforce. They increased up to 150 employees, and they raised their budget to $38 million, all in a bid to ensure that its supervisory capability is equivalent now to that of Europe. So this is good news for our friends in Bermuda, and it goes a little bit to the quotes we were giving the other day from the CEO of Hiscox Bermuda. It's good news all around. Well, in the Gulf of Mexico now, British Petroleum is getting ready now to see if the new containment cap is strong enough to contain the leaking well. A BP vice president said that a leak in the containment cap was discovered late last night. That's been replaced now. They replaced a pipe called a choke line on the side of the capping device. That set back the testing schedule. The key now is going to be the kind of pressure once they close the well off. High pressure will be good because it shows that there's only one single leak, i.e. the leak that they plugged. Low pressure, below 6,000 pounds per square inch, would mean that there are more leaks further down the well that are leaking out into the ocean floor. BP expects to, if they're successful, keep the oil trapped in the cap for 48 hours before it takes a complete 48-hour pressure test reading. The cap was lowered into the well on Monday. The collection of oil has stopped again on the surface now that the test is getting ready to go into place. Also, one of the two containment wells that are being dug came to a stop. They don't want to risk any damage at all to the line and to the drill bit that's coming down. One containment well is 5 feet away from the gushing well. That's the well that was stopped. The other one is still some 50 feet away. They're continuing with that drilling as we speak. Meanwhile, out in southeast Idaho, we've got our first big wildfire of the year. A wildfire has burned across 170 square miles out there. It's 60% contained. 300 firefighters, along with helicopters, bulldozers, and planes, are working around the Idaho National Laboratory in southeast Idaho. The blaze started as a small desert fire Tuesday, but by later yesterday it had become the biggest wildfire burning in the U.S. Officials say that the fire knocked out power to the laboratory's material and fuels complex, where research and development of nuclear fuels takes place. However, no critical infrastructure was burned. The complex is about 28 miles west of the town of Idaho Falls. We'll go to a word now from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news.
You may have already seen the demonstration of the CATEX Global Exchange in action. Some of the features of the exchange and our Pivot Point 2 software are especially useful to facultative and excess surplus lines brokers and markets. Here, we see the opening page of the contract workspace, which shows some of the details of a facultative risk as seen by the listing broker. Behind this opening page are screens which provide details of the contract of certificate, details on the parties or markets on the certificate, details of the exposures on the certificate, including aggregate data of the underlying risks, details on each of the insured risks, policy or certificate documents, including document templates, as well as automatic email links. This screen also provides links to details of the layers for brokers, the at-risk markets, premium information, policy accounting statements, the policy claims history, endorsements, and contract documents. The Pivot Point system is the backbone of the exchange platform. Pivot Point provides easy input of data as well as seamless structuring of the data into policy documents, accounting records, and statements, as well as underwriting criteria. The system allows brokers to focus their efforts on where they bring their clients the most value added, determining the appropriate layers and selecting the markets which are appropriate for the risk and layer. In these markets, timing and access to data are especially critical. For example, in a risk involving numerous properties, a broker will likely have a data file listing the properties subject to the risk. The system allows brokers to easily upload data files to the system. The exchange allows brokers to offer the risk and make sure the data are available only to markets authorized by the broker. The exchange software automatically converts the uploaded data to structured data. Markets which are interested in reviewing the risk can easily use the data to underwrite the risk. We are working on providing links to a third-party risk assessment firm which will be able to provide property-level risk of loss calculations. These are only some of the features which make the CATEX Global Exchange and our Pivot Point system especially useful to brokers and markets in the facultative and excess and surplus lines business. Please contact us for a demonstration of all the advantages you can get from the CATEX Global Exchange and the Pivot Point system. CATEX, an unfair advantage unless you are trading with us.
We were just talking here, my producer Frank Mazzio and I, about the Mel Gibson tapes. I'm telling you, it's like every day there's a new one. The guy is absolutely out of his mind. And now, of course, they're saying the tapes are doctored, so who the heck knows. Commercial insurer CNA Financial Corporation in Chicago is making news. They announced this morning that they've agreed to transfer $1.6 billion of its legacy asbestos and environmental pollution liabilities to guess who? National Indemnity Company, NICO, a subsidiary of Berkshire Hathaway. And boy, is NICO pretty good at managing these things. According to terms of the deal, which is going to close in the third quarter of this year, CNA will pay reinsurance premiums of $2 billion to NICO in exchange for them assuming the liabilities. CNA Financial also has agreed to transfer the right to collect